him from white soldiers who were trying to hunt him down and kill him. They told him they were protecting him from assassins working in French intelligence. And eventually the guy he kind of couldn't fucking take it anymore, just took a big old shit on his interrogator's desk.
Oh, that's great.
So mad when that happened to him because he knew how special his desk was. Everybody knew because that's where he kept his eggs.
It all comes down to funny college pranks, doesn't it?
It really does. And he did a hell of a job keeping himself sane. He would play imaginary chess on the wall. He dictated a whole novel. Like, he would just dictate it out loud. But, I mean, it really wasn't, it wasn't good enough. I mean, he said that every day, like, he didn't know who he was, where he was. He didn't know why it was happening. And then finally, after 90 days, the Army did a test on him. A military psychiatrist did a test on him and said that he exhibited, quote, an antisocial personality with paranoid trends.
That's so weird. He didn't become a pop star after this?
Wild.
However, he is one of the very few people to actually gain some sort of monetary settlement from the U.S. government for the mistreatment. In 1980, two South Carolina senators obtained a private congressional bill for him, and he was awarded $625,000.
Wow, that's actually very impressive. I believe Strom Thurmond was the senator there in South Carolina at the time.
Really?
Strom, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird.
Yes. he's a segregationist. He's a racist.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's weird.
Yeah, well,
Well, 4 years after that, he was found dead in a swimming pool at the age of 46 years old.
Isn't that interesting? That's the exact story to some degree of
Rodney King?
Dead. In the bottom of a swimming pool.
It is such a
Crazy.
shame. Like, again, it's just but we see a lot of that even modern day of bullying within the Army and like any one of the armed forces. It's a machismo thing. It's been fucked for a long time, and these poor it's horrible.
Never get a swimming pool. Your kids will die in it, or you'll die in it.
It's the problem is the swimming pool.
I agree. Thank you, Henry.
It's the problem.
Yeah. And there was another lawsuit in 2009. That was done by the Vietnam Veterans of America and the Swords to Plowshares and 8 Edgewood veterans against the CIA, the Army, and various other agencies. Essentially, what all they wanted was they asked the court to determine that the defendants' actions were illegal and that the defendants have a duty to notify all victims and to provide them with health care. And the plaintiffs actually did not seek any monetary damages at all. They sought, quote, only declaratory and injunctive relief and redress for what they claimed was several decades of neglect and the U.S. government's use of them as guinea pigs in chemical and biological agent testing experiments. And the judges found that the Army has an ongoing duty to warn and ordered the Army, through the DVA or otherwise, to provide test subjects with newly acquired information that may affect their well-being that it has learned since its original notification, now and in the future as it becomes available. So as of 2009...
Say you're sorry.
Yep.
That's all that was.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But on the other end, it is on the books now that from 2009 on, if there is any sort of medical testing, then by law, the Army has to inform them of the effects that it has had on various other soldiers or the possible effects that it may have on them in the future.
I want to sign up for the Molly one. That's going to be huge. I can't
Can I
wait.
be on the new ho-ho test? When they start testing the ho-hos to be released back into the United States population, I'd like to be a part of that test. And they don't got to warn me as shit. Because I know what's good.
That's right.
Well, the official Department of Defense position on all of this is they said that they, quote, did not detect any significant long-term health effects on the Edgewood Arsenal volunteers. So while the Army did have to acknowledge that these tests were done and they did have to acknowledge that they had to give these people this information, their official stance is still that they did nothing wrong.
Yeah, of course, because in the end they said what we said constantly. It's all of the different validations of like they volunteered, we gave them opportunities to leave, even though it was all bullshit.
Yeah, the only thing they can't really justify MK Ultra, but this was something that if they can justify it, they will.
This is a little bit like MK Ultra Light, though.
It's very much MK Ultra light.
Yeah.
No, what it is it's basically it gave them the due diligence and the research to know how much. It's like basically all they needed out of this experiment was just directly see how much LSD does it take for their brains to fucking like literally crawl out of their noses. You know.
Well, there's that, but these dose measures from measurements that pharmaceutical companies say are recommended for individuals. Those don't come from nowhere. I'm sure all these studies were used by big pharma and things like that to create a bunch of different kind of medicines that we're currently all addicted to.
Just so you know, you might not want to give them this much PCP because it makes them really bad at obstacle courses.
Right.
Noted.
So that's pretty much the story of Edgewood. That's pretty intense. I mean, like,
Right.
I'm glad that it's covered by the New Yorker. But it's, that's all the information. It's like we tested on our soldiers. And again, it just proves if one thing is real, if these ludicrous things are documented and proven by our courts, then what does it mean? What else is real?
Yeah. What else is that? Like, what do we not know about?
I think this one's actually not the worst situation that's ever happened. I don't think it's the worst thing that the U.S. government has ever done. But it's an interesting one, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
It's just that
I would still, even knowing this, if I had to go back into a time machine and I was sitting somewhere and someone was like, 3-day weekend, you want to go to Edgewood? I'd be like, absolutely. Let's rock and roll.
yeah, like let's fucking do this, bro. Can I bring my guitar? That's what you want.
Right.
But it's hopefully it would be like that. But the problem is, it's just, again, it's more about mentality. It's how our government views our soldiers as like pieces on a chessboard.
That's it. That is how they view them. But that's how the soldiers view themselves in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I guess so. But
That's the whole
it's still
point.
very sad. But we got this. So fucking I hope you ate some mushrooms.
Right.
And you're doing it in your own way, your own Edgewood experiments, but it involves like get some fucking like paint.
Oh, that you're going to repaint in a week or the next day, get some finger paints and just have a bunch of people over.
Yeah.
Ruin a wall night.
Here's a couple other here's a couple of tips. All right. Get a bag of random ass costumes and put them in a duffel. Like get
idea.
a bunch of random costumes and go out to your quad or your college or the fucking main square or your tiny town and just walk around in it. Eat a bunch of mushrooms and just walk around and try buying a bicycle.
It's a great idea. And go to the Cave Comedy Radio page and buy a T-shirt.
Yeah,
or donate.
CaveComedyRadio.com/Last Podcast on the Left. That's where you can go to buy your very own Last Podcast on the Left t-shirt. You get it free with a donation of $25 or more if you're a United States resident, or $40 more if you live anywhere else in the entire world. And you don't even have to give us $20. If you want to just go in and give us like $1, $5, something like that, every tiny little bit helps, and we appreciate anything that you guys can give to us for doing this show.
Yeah, because we were planning on a trip out to the UK.
That's right.
And that's a part of what's going to help us fund that, which we're very excited for.
Can't wait for
Yeah.
the UK tour. So in order to help us out with that, it would be amazing if you went to iTunes and like left a comment or something and be like, Ben's tall and then he's also fat and then he's also the ugliest. Say something like that. It doesn't matter what you say. Just
Yeah, and all you UK listeners out there, like send us an email at cavecomedyradio@gmail.com or go to the Facebook group and post and just let us know where you live. Like, let us know where in England, the biggest concentration of Last Podcast fans are. So yeah, we're planning this thing out, and we're gonna be coming to fucking England.
we're gonna become England.
We're happy of all the suggestions people gave me to go to Los Angeles. In Los Angeles. I'm going to those places. I'm gonna fucking report from them. I want to thank Annie for the good luck rune that I was sent. That's so
Right.
nice. And I you know what I want out of today? I need a heartfelt Hail Satan from everybody. That's what I need.
Give Henry a nice hail, Satan.
Marcus?
Hail Satan.
And
Satan.
did we thank this Parker kid?
Andrew Parker, we
Thank you,
gotta
Andrew.
thank Andrew for sending us a wonderful little grab bag of I got some wonderful bones, and a wonderful comic book. Henry got a CD, which I'll have for you once you get back. Ben got a nice little movie, Midnight Skater.
Yeah.
So awesome. No, you guys are the best. You're the best people on the face of the planet.
And we also got a particularly fucking awesome little envelope in the mail.
Yeah.
We got from a listeners, Elena Rice and Josh Graham out of Los Angeles. They gave us a little baggie that has actual fragments of the fireplace of Sharon Tate's home from the night of the Manson murders.
Unbelievable.
This is like, I'm holding it in my hand right now. It says Dearly Departed, has several Tate LaBianca related books, death certificates, and autopsy reports, and other official documents available to purchase in our gallery. So that's
Hail Satan.
DearlyDepartedTours.com. And thank you so much, Elena and Josh. That's fucking amazing.
That's so awesome.
Magustalations to you both.
Magustalations, and of course, hail yourselves.
And Halgeen.
Hail me! And we will talk to you soon.
See you, fuckers.
Cold Blood, Nordic True Crime. In 1977, a pipe bomb explodes in a phone booth in Gladsaxe, Denmark. It's the start of a 2-year bombing spree that grips the nation in fear. The police have no leads apart from a series of mysterious letters. From Podimo, this is Cold Blood, Nordic True Crime, a series exploring outrageous crimes from Scandinavia, crimes that made headlines and gripped the region. Listen wherever you get podcasts, or for early access and to listen ad-free, subscribe to Podimo on Apple Podcasts.
Hello, everybody. We're back. Chilluminati podcast is returned. This one's gonna be a fun one because I'm not in charge of this episode. This isn't a me episode. We at least in my episodes, I like to think there's at least like some sort of anchor to reality, like at least a minor one. In Alex episodes, we cut that tether and we just go for the ride.
You know, funny you should say that, Mathis. Funny you should say that because today I will be the first to admit that the last few times that we have done an episode where I am in the driver's seat, the things that I say sound less than
Believable,
if you want to say that. I don't know.
You look so offended by that. I'm just making a.
I want you guys to know that was what I decided that my flavor was.
That's great.
Whatever.
I love your flavor.
But this time I decided that I would use a different criteria to get to the bottom of this whole situation. Okay?
You got to the bottom of a situation.
Yeah, because here's the thing. This time, instead of trying to just go for something crazy, I set the only goal that I set myself, like the literal only goal. This is called Chilluminati Most Convincing. Okay? That's what this episode's called. This is the pilot episode of our reality show, Most Convincing.
What you're about to tell us, none of it's real.
All right.
None of this is true.
The only goal that I gave myself was to find items that were so convincing that perhaps we could all agree that maybe the events were not only possible, but convincing enough for even Jesse to entertain the possibility that they might be true.
That's not true. It's fiction.
I want to.
We got
that was one of our fakes.
We gotcha.
This was written by our writers.
Yeah.
But before we
Yes.
we disappear into the Alex's reality, let's stick into Earth reality for a second, because the episode is going live on Monday. This is when this is going live. The same day, our temporary 30-day run of Chilluminati hoodies is going live. Oh,
Yeah.
Go get them! They look dope. They got a nice graffiti style. We've got like an eye spray painted on the front. We have the pyramid spray painted on the back. This is Chilluminati Rules. It's freaking dope. You should absolutely go check it out. It's on
You
the
got
Yeti.com.
that tax return. You know it's coming.
We
Time
have
to
to
go
pay
crazy.
taxes, so it's a good give and take.
Yeah, there's no YouTuber alive who doesn't have to pay taxes, but that's okay.
Go check it out, Yeti.com, and search for Chilluminati. We'll have the link below in all the places. But this is a temporary 30-day limited time offer. Go
This
get
is
it.
real.
This
is
real.
This is a good jacket.
It's
You
dope.
guys are going to like this jacket. You don't even know.
You might even love it. It's possible.
You might fall in love with this jacket. That'll be
You
the
might
next
fall in
Illuminati.
love with your soulmate while wearing this jacket, and they're
You could.
wearing our hat.
I feel like, as the legal department for this show, we should just say we can guarantee none of this. And in
That's
fact,
true.
That's also true.
And
Everything
funnily
they've
enough,
said.
I can't guarantee that anything that I say today is going to be true. But what I want to say, I just want to in the interest of healthy skepticism, which I know we're a big fan of on the show, and good journalism. I just want to say that the things that I'm going to talk about today, the more heavily supported conclusion is the one that if you're going to talk about this publicly, you should probably go with. But this is a fun podcast, okay? We're not,
of course.
We're not scholars,
I'm
okay?
worried about what you're about to say. 'Cause this is
I hope that I'm going to shock not just you, Mathis, because I know I'm going to probably shock Mathis a little bit, but Jesse, who I respect enough to know you will need some real convincing.
Mathis, he'll be convinced. Jesse, I respect you. You need to be convinced.
Yeah,
it's
going to happen.
I'm so worried now that you've gone out of your way for nothing.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Here's
Here's what I'm going to tell you. The only thing that we're going to do 3 little mini ones right now. The only thing that ties these together is that I was able to find pretty convincing evidence for it. Okay? That's the only thing. I know we don't like to go into I know Jesse doesn't like the lore. I know Jesse doesn't like the craziness. We're going.
The lore is the best part.
I know.
Enjoy.
I'm saying you're not gonna be convinced by lore. You need evidence, physical evidence.
That's fair. That's 100% fair.
I need to be probed to believe in aliens.
Hang on.
Physical evidence.
Matthew is being abducted by.
What is he? Is he taking he's taking his shirt off.
His shirt is off.
He's
His
pouring
shirt is
oil
off.
onto his body. He's getting so buff.
Oh my God, his muscles rippling.
His shirt is off. He's covered in
Thank you.
oil. All right.
I'm me and Harold.
Oh, Harold's here.
That doll is terrifying.
Yeah,
That
here he
tape-mouthed
is.
doll.
I am not. I don't care if the story is very clearly fake. This is not coming off.
It's delightful. I'm so glad you have him so close at hand at all times.
Oh, he's in my bookshelf constantly.
Great. Okay.
Right.
Do you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns before we begin?
Yes, but let's just go ahead.
Yeah, let's just get into
do
it.
All right, fuck it. The first theory we're going to look at today involves a very famous ship known as the RMS Titanic. Are you guys ready?
The actual
Nazis sink
Titanic.
the-
Hold on. The actual Titanic.
We're going to talk about the Titanic. Oh, they say. I want to give credit to you/BrazeMac for a great post that I saw about this on Reddit. I want to talk about Becky Little's writing on this topic at history.com. That's another thing I read. Also at Titanic Mystery on Twitter. And the skeptic, Dr. Paul Lee, who you can find paulie.com. That's where his anti-this theory website is. So, both sides of the aisle here on Chilluminati. Don't miss out. So, okay, to begin, to the best of your guys' knowledge, what do you guys believe to be the story of the sinking of the Titanic as it is told in history?
The basic story, as far as I'm aware, has to do with the construction of the ship and that it was deemed unsinkable because of the way they built it. However, on the fateful night when this occurred, for reasons I don't know exactly, I'm sure I don't remember them, but I know I've read it before. The ship hits an iceberg, and that iceberg tears through the bottom, and as each of the compartments fills, what ends up happening is rather than it blocking off water, it ends up essentially causing the ship to sink on one
Sink
end.
to the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, exactly.
But then what happens is the ship breaks in two because the top weight is too heavy and it snaps in two, and that's when it really sinks. It wouldn't have sunk if it would have stayed together, but it didn't, and then it sunk. And
it got decimated.
Yeah, people died.
Yeah, a lot of people died actually. But yeah, you're basically right. White Star Lines, the ship company that made the ships, they had 3 ships together that were the 3 sister ships. There's the Olympic, there's the Titanic, and there was the Britannic. This was early turn of the century England. These ships were the luxury lifestyle item to do, you wanted to be on one of these White Star Line ships because it was this was some pimp ass shit. The Olympic and the Titanic were both the biggest ship in the world for a while, while they were being built at the time. That's pretty crazy. And famously, like you said, they were perceived by the public to be unsinkable. It's true.
So it's kind of like having an iPhone nowadays. It's a status symbol to ride the Titanic.
Dude, yes. Almost exactly the same thing as having an iPhone today riding on, let's just say the Olympic, because I don't think most people were psyched that they rode the Titanic.
Well, they were up until...
Yeah. Right. So there is actually a little bit of debate over whether or not anyone from White Star actually claimed it was unsinkable, in an official capacity, or that, because in the brochure it said it was designed to be unsinkable, but that sounds some bullshit, and it doesn't actually matter to the story anyway. So
Now,
whatever.
I don't know if it matters either, but isn't it? I might be wrong on my knowledge on this, but didn't the Titanic notoriously take like really cheap cuts to be able to fit more people, like less lifeboats than they normally would have done on any boat that size, that kind of thing?
There's some debate about that actually,
Okay.
because a lot of it is because of the fact that they kept having to move back the due dates.
Okay.
Of stuff because of the production, but that has to do with what I'm about to get into, which is that the Olympic, the first ship that was made, that ship had its maiden voyage in 1911. So this was a year before the Titanic set sail, and the Titanic went in 1912, and the Britannic got requisitioned by the military already because it was World War I in 1915, and so the Titanic hit an iceberg and sank its first time out. Britannic got bopped by a mine like a year into its service. But the Olympic, the first one, again, as far as the history books say, enjoyed a long 20-year career and finally was taken out of service in 1935. But here is where Chilluminati and history diverge.
Oh boy.
Get ready. Apparently, in the year leading up to the Titanic's maiden voyage, the Olympic was seeing her fair share of crappy times, okay? She was badly damaged in a just accident. Just somebody pulled a boner. There was a ship called the Hawk. They got like in a big like accident. They even actually had to divert parts away from the Titanic, which was still being built in dry dock. And that's like pretty crazy. And that may be part of the reason why there was some like building issues with the Titanic as well. And then that same thing happened again where they got damaged. A propeller broke off the Olympic and they had to steal parts from the Titanic again to do that. So what if instead of the Titanic actually sinking on its maiden voyage by pure tragic accident, what if faced with a totaled, very expensive and very like public ship that was like messed up after 2 freak accidents, what if they decided to put that second ship that they were building through a few cosmetic changes so that the crappy ass Olympic, which may actually even have been like to the point where after the crash, they just patched it enough that it could like just barely run? What if it went down as the Titanic? White Star Line collects like £1 million payday on the Titanic's insurance money, and then the actual Titanic just goes as a brand new ship and continues to be the Olympic until 1935.
So like a last minute swap.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we just switch the names. They look basically the same already. We can change a couple of the real, little design differences that people will notice. And then Bob's your uncle. We sink the shitty one. We make it back because it's like.
So you're saying the sinking of the ship was done on purpose?
Yeah, as like a snow job as insurance fraud.
So who would have? So the captain would have sunk the ship but didn't he go down with the ship?
The captain did go down the ship. This next part is conjecture because there's we don't know for sure what the conspiracy is, right?
Okay.
But the idea is that there maybe was a little bit more that happened here than was supposed to happen, and that instead of it just going down and they safely getting everybody off board quickly, maybe the ship just went down, or maybe they led the captain to believe that would not happen, and then it happened anyway, so that they just clean up a bunch of loose ends.
I can almost believe the idea that maybe they swapped the ships last minute. I don't know about the sinking it on purpose is almost like a bridge too far for me.
I feel like I believe enough in corporate greed that I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess anyone could do that. But I feel like the minute it goes out to sea as the Titanic, the cover-up Titanic, it becomes like a movie plot where it's like...
Right, it's too crazy to believe,
like
right?
The evil corporate villains are just like, yes, of course, we'll send it out to sea and then we'll destroy it. And in their mind...
It doesn't seem like it would work, yeah.
Well, because the fallout, the best case scenario that this could be is that they were sending out there and it was going to sink and then, they expected a few deaths because they're evil corporate overlords. But I think the movie version is that something terrible goes wrong. And at the end, the hero bursts into the office. It's like, you did this on purpose, you bet. But, that's the best case scenario is that something horrible went wrong with their plan that was already an evil plan.
Yeah, it was already
best case scenario. But, the amount of things that
It's an exciting theory that seems hard to swallow.
yes, very hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am with you on that.
So let's start with like very good evidence against this theory. We'll knock that out first, okay? So here's some things. The wood from the Olympic, because remember, the Olympic was just like honorably just decommissioned in the 30s, right? So there's plenty of material left over from it. It wasn't sitting at the bottom of the ocean or anything.
Right.
The wood from the Olympic was placed into some buildings on land, and the paneling from that ship had the proper yard number, which was 400. Titanic was 401. But the actual yard number 400 was on the wood, matching the real Olympic. And that would be really hard to go back and change once construction on the ship was underway, because literally
Sure.
it's the wood that makes the boat.
Right.
And same with the wreckage on the ocean floor of the Titanic. There's a lot of evidence that a lot of it was stamped with 401, and largely matches the floor plan that we believe the Titanic should have had. So there is that archaeological evidence against the theory, right? Not to mention the fact that there is a PR nightmare here for White Star Line.
That's what I was about to
which
say.
doesn't-
Even if there was their plan, no one would ever want to go on their boats anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and that's kind of what happened. Like, this was a PR nightmare for the White Star Line, just because the Titanic crashed. Like, the whole thing was that it was unsinkable, and then it just sank. Like, boo boo on
its
them.
maiden voyage.
Right.
Yeah.
It like during everybody was like waiting for it to get to New York. Like, it's almost here. We're gonna see it. Like, it's crazy. Also, some of the changes that would have had to been made were pretty like complex changes. Like on B deck on the original Titanic, part of the like first class promenade was actually replaced with more cabins so they could fit more people on the boat, which would be like a pretty big change. The original Titanic had a bigger first class restaurant, which like truncated the second class promenade a lot. And then there's this whole problem of the fact that like with the timing, like if you look at photos, like the smokestack situation was like pretty crazy because like the Titanic was getting them added to it as they were building it, but like they would have to like be like swapping them out and like moving them around between the two ships, and that would be really like
Obvious.
difficult. Yeah, really difficult to do. The timing would be crazy also. There's a lot of specifics to this. I'm not going to get into them. They're very boring. But the window that they would have had to do this after they made the decision would have been about, at max, if they did it one of the times when they were both in dry dock together, at max, they would have had 44 days to do it. And also they would have to have covered up like the fact that they were working on the Olympic in ways that they shouldn't have been, right? And then also there's the fact that the Titanic's insurance money really wasn't enough to cover like sinking another ship.
Right. Just
It's
didn't end
not-
up being worth it.
It's not like a super feasible insurance fraud plan. Okay.
It's certainly very elaborate.
Yeah, and like, putting people's lives on the line, that's pretty crazy, right? That's
True.
So that is a good summary of evidence. It's not a complete summary of all the evidence against, but to me, these are the big things that are against this. There's some more stuff about like the people who came up with this theory originally being right or wrong, but that you get into like the Warrens territory there, and I'm not trying to mess around with that. I'm just going to go off the
Warrens,
facts.
Zach Baggins.
But yeah, after hearing that, it seems like this might not be true. But now I'm going to give you some evidence for. So here we go.
Here we go.
All right. There, this is it.
There was a letter sent to the Northern Star newspaper in Australia from a guy who quoted this guy called Paddy Fenton, okay? He was a worker at the Harland and Wolff shipyards in Belfast, which is where the ships were worked on, okay? And this is what he was quoted as saying. When the surviving crew got to port, they were all taken aside and met by two men, one in a high position in the company, the other man in a very high position in the government. The government man read the crew the Official Secrets Act, explaining that if they told the real reason for the sinking or the rumors of an insurance scam, they would serve a minimum of 20 years in jail and would never get a job again when they got out. So that's one piece of evidence for. Okay.
Can you read the exact statement of what they were told again?
They were told that if they read the Official Secrets Act, which explained that if they told the real reason for the sinking or the rumors of an insurance scam, they would serve a minimum of 20 years in jail and would never get a job when they got out. They were threatened, basically.
I'm looking.
So
I just wanted to, the Official Secrets Act is a thing. Just so people are
I
curious.
feel like this could be one of those don't cause a panic, shut up kind of things, rather than like
It could be.
the real reason's aliens. Like I don't. All right. Okay,
could be.
I'm gonna just.
Yeah, that's just item A. That's item A. Item B is that 50 first-class passengers canceled their trip fairly last minute, including J.P. Morgan. We all know J.P. Morgan, who not only would have had insider knowledge in this case as a main investor in the International Mercantile Marine Co., which was basically a shell corporation owning all these different cruise lines, including White Star Lines. Okay, but also less than an hour before the ship left for sea, he removed 7 valuable statues from the ship's hold. Even though the only reason he said he wasn't going to be able to go was because he was feeling sick. And also he was seen healthy and happy in France 2 days later. Weird.
That is weird.
Also, among those who ducked out early was Julia Ismay, the wife of White Star Chair J. Bruce Ismay, who did perish on board, and their kids. The kids got off. And she also said she was sick, though the day later, she was on vacation in Wales. So that's another piece of evidence.
But why would he stay on board?
And why would she go on vacation the day after this event?
I think maybe...
Well, the day after, I'm assuming the day after the ship went to sea, right? Did it sink the same day?
It sank, it sank maybe like a day or two into the voyage.
Day or two? Okay.
Yeah, but the idea being that maybe he didn't think that he was going to die.
He'd get out really quickly.
But, he didn't want to put his wife and kids through something like that, So that's another piece of evidence. And then next, we're going to talk about the SS Californian. This is some weird shit. I don't know what was going on here. The SS Californian, I believe, is a ship that has some tie to this, like in terms of corporate structure. They would have been talking to each other a lot. So here's what happened. There's very shifty behavior from Captain Stanley Lord of the SS Californian. He radios the Titanic to warn of ice that they almost hit themselves, which was actually the ice that they actually ended up running into. They decide to stop for the night because the ice is too dangerous on the Californian. They try to contact the Titanic again, and apparently the Titanic told them back, quote, shut up, I am busy. Then the captain has the wireless shut down on the Californian 10 minutes before the Titanic hits the iceberg. Then 25 minutes after that, the Titanic visually sees the Californian and sends up rocket flares. But the captain doesn't get a call about it because he's asleep at the time, apparently. Just that few...
I feel like I've actually...
Just that few bit while later. Then he, like, half-assed tries to use Morse code, like, with lights to talk to the Titanic instead of waking up the wireless tech, which he would have to do if he was in visual contact. Right. He couldn't do that without being in visual contact.
Right. There'd be no point in doing light.
Right. Yeah, instead of waking up the wireless tech, which he could have done. And then he explains away the flares to his own crew as company signals, which is crazy. And then, after 8 rockets that everybody on the ship could see, the captain does nothing. They decide the Titanic is leaving the area, even though 20 minutes later it sinks. Okay?
Damn.
Then there's more flares, and the shift changes. And the new wireless tech hears the SOS from the Titanic and is like, what were those flares? And then finally they like get the captain up after that and they send the Californian over, but it's like through some weird route where they like go away from it first and then to it, which is crazy. And then they get there just after another ship already got there, the Carpathia, which is the ship that actually showed up and saved anybody who they saved from the water. Even though at one point the Californian was only 5 nautical miles away. And then when asked about it later, Captain Lord denied a bunch of stuff. He contradicted himself and his crew a bunch of times about times, locations, reasons for making decisions. He said other stuff was state secrets, which ties up with what that other guy was saying earlier. And then the scrap log for the ship just went missing when before the ship docked. They just somehow the scrap log got lost, and the official log, which did exist, does not mention the Titanic, does not mention flares, does not mention any other ships. And Captain Lord, in 2 separate inquiries, one by Britain and one by the United States, he was determined to have definitively failed to act appropriately. And he was actually blamed in England for the loss of many of the lives. So I don't know what he was doing. It seems like maybe he was trying to cover up the fact or like let the Titanic sink without witnesses or something weird. He was somehow hindering the rescue of the Titanic in some way. It's very bizarre. I don't know what he was up to, but he like did not ever recover his reputation. He like died 60 years later or something, just like
I wonder if
sad.
I wonder if it's a case, at least for as far as he's concerned, a case of knowingly messing up and then doubling down real
That's what it
hard
sounds
on
like
trying
to me.
to
It
cover
sounds
his
like
tracks.
he screwed up and tried to double down, and the things he did to double down buy into the like make the conspiracy like it adds to it, and it's just one of those cases of like in most conspiracy things, when the information comes out later that's like the truth, it's someone doing something wrong that's not necessarily associated, but when people dig into it, it looks like, oh, this person was covering something up when really they're just incompetent. Like they weren't involved. I feel like that could be it. But while you're going on about this, I seem to recall, because you mentioned that, was it J.P. Morgan?
Yes.
I seem to recall a theory that the thing was an orchestrated plot by J.P. Morgan
To kill
to
his
rivals.
competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked into that, and that is
I don't
a
think-
lot. That one's a lot harder to support with evidence.
Well, again, I mean, what a terrible plan to be like, I'm going to hit them with an iceberg. Like,
I agree.
Like, what a
I
terrible
agree.
plan.
I agree. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And
I would
at
definitely
least-
say there's something fishy going.
yeah,
Obviously,
where the
There's very something
doubt
fishy.
has been cast. But what I promised today
Oh, boy.
was physical evidence.
Oh.
Do you guys have access to your Zoom chat? Can you see your Zoom chat?
Yes. Wait, don't tell
Okay.
me you have, like, a P10.
I'm ready. This is what I need, my man. Give
All
me
right.
this stuff.
So
Great shit.
okay, so this is a picture of the Olympic floating in dry dock. Okay, we're gonna have
Right.
these pictures for you guys in the show notes, so you guys can do this with us. But I need you guys to verify this for me. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is we're looking at the top row of portholes on the white railing just below the top of the deck. Do you see those?
I think I've gone down this rabbit hole when I was in high school. This
Yeah.
is all very vaguely familiar to
Yeah.
me. And I'm like, there's something up. There's something going on.
Okay, so do you see this? So do you see these portholes?
Yeah,
They,
yeah.
They're evenly
Near the front.
They're evenly spaced all the way along the front, but one right before they end, there's like a dot space dot, right?
Is this going to be a Morse code thing?
No, it's just
Okay,
like
okay.
you see the windows, it's like dot,
Sure.
just like one dot. And then right before the end, you see
Yeah.
dot, and then a
Dot.
space, then dot, and then
Yeah.
dot. We're all in
Yep.
agreement.
Yep, I see
Sure.
it.
Okay, great. Next, here is a picture of the Titanic, the Titanic, original Titanic, being built in the same year. Okay, so here's that. Here's another pic. This is the Titanic. Now we're gonna look at this, and I want you to look at the railing again. So in this one, it's the same situation, except instead of ending with the dot, like the two together, this one is just straight portholes all the way along the top.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yep.
This one, it's all
I see.
single.
I see bigger dots towards the end, though.
No, those are on the other side of the railing. The gap in the railing is where the railing ends. If you go look at
Oh,
the
you're
other,
saying right where that gap is.
yeah,
Okay,
right
okay,
where that
okay.
gap is where it would be dot.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, if you look at
Nope,
the other
you're
picture and
right.
compare the two, yeah, the Titanic picture is all straight across dots.
Before we jump anywhere, my
Yes.
immediate where I would throw cast doubt, just for a moment, is the angle at which the Olympic picture is taken, so that the dots would appear closer, just because of the way it's a little bit more like horizontal. You know what I mean? Like,
I hear what you're saying, but if you go and find another picture of the Olympic, I just chose
Same
that
thing.
one because it's clear. You will
Okay.
see that this is actually a difference between the two ships.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll take your word.
Okay, but so mark those two pics.
Yep.
One has the dot. That's the original Olympic, and the other one has straight across. Now, here is a picture of the quote unquote Titanic leaving on its maiden voyage. Okay.
Okay.
Note the railing and how the railing ends with a dot just like the Olympic. Note this.
I mean, according to the pictures, you're right.
It's the same design. Okay?
Here's the one thing. This is you're absolutely right. This is fascinating. I've got like 5 windows open and I'm like looking
Yeah,
in.
like across.
You're right, it's fascinating. I will say the one thing that I require more information on before I'm like, all right, I'm starting to buy in, is the 2 pictures, the first of the Olympic and the second of Titanic leaving harbor, are taken from the exact same angle.
Yes.
While the Titanic construction photo is a close-up and taken from a different angle. And so I'd be curious if there's an Olympic and or
There's
Titanic at sea.
definitely more pictures of this. I just chose these because you can see the features most clearly.
Now you got me
This
on a
is- these
picture
are-
hunt.
Yeah, me too.
But before we do that, here's a final picture. This is the Olympic in New York after the Titanic sank. And again, if you see
It
on
is
this
the other
ship-
side of the boat, though.
yes, the Olympic, the other side of the boat. No, well, this is a mirrored picture, actually. This is not the
Oh.
other side of the boat.
Okay.
The dots are the same. Dot, uniform right across. To me, that is physical evidence of a sort that this may have happened. And that is where I'm going to leave the mystery of whether or not they switched the Titanic and the Olympic for an insurance scam.
That's the Titanic. Okay.
You got.
This is-
I will
I'm
take
like-
it by your stunned silence that perhaps I may
You
have
have
given
me
you-
interested because I went and go picture hunting,
Yeah.
and I have a picture of the Olympic after it was rammed and sunk by a U-boat. Titanic sister ship RMS Olympic took on a U-boat and won. And here's a picture of it, and it's of the side, and it does the Olympic has the Olympic has the ... So I'm gonna link this for you real quick in the Zoom chat. So that's the Olympic after it got rammed by a U-boat in 1918.
Why is this one opening Chrome?
I do not know.
That's so weird. All right, hold on. Let's see.
Yeah, the Olympic on this one has the ...
Yes, it does. But this is a much later picture of the Olympic, so I can't speak on that. The one of the Olympic in New York is from shortly after the Titanic. It's possible that after this happened, they could have gone and adjusted the boats more to be more like they should be to each other, because there's a lot more of a time there. Because this is in 1918. This is like 6 years later. But